Hey guys, Robert Hush Performance. It's been a while since I posted last. I just wanted to give you a quick update because we're going to Drag Racing Nationals this weekend. It's October 12th. The event is on October 13th. There's supposed to be some rain this weekend, so hopefully everything works out. If they say that it rains on Saturday, then they'll still have the event on Sunday. What's important about this is the all-wheel drive shootout West Coast. It's kind of like the first of its kind in our industry. All-wheel drive is becoming quite huge, and there's plenty of guys running really fast on the East Coast, and we got a few contenders here on the West Coast. Well, there might be some new vehicles coming out that's going to be at the event, so we're going to see who's going to be the fastest in the country at Drag Racing Nationals here in California. So along with our trip out there, we're actually been working with Hossport. We're actually right next to Hossport, just across the way. Anyways, they have been working on an all-wheel drive bolt-in engine and transmission kit. And we're going to actually be bringing this to the all-wheel drive shootout so the guys that are interested in going all-wheel drive can. There are a few companies developing rear control arms and a driveline system and a way to mount the rear differential. So essentially, Hossport is the only company that actually has something truly bolt-in that at least gets you the engine and the transmission in place. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Well, down here unboxed is the Hossport motor mount kit. This is a complete kit. Like if you didn't have motor mounts already, you would get current mounts that are readily available. This is the EF driver side mount. This is the EF rear B series mount. These two parts right here are the all-wheel drive mounts. As of right now, the transmission mount is made of steel, and then you have a specific rear T-bracket. Okay, we have an engine here, and what we're going to do is mount this stuff onto this engine. Well, if you're familiar with us, my daughter named me Iron Man after she saw some of the things that we were making, and I thought that was really cool, which is why I named our simulator Jarvis. Jarvis is actually a simulator for a cable to hydro conversion for the EF and DA bodies. Show off. This engine is actually a single cam. I raced in this car right here. This is one of many that I blew up. Well, fortunately, when we built this, we built it using EF motor mounts because maybe I thought I was planning on using this stuff in the future, right? But it ended up just becoming mostly display. But because the display is designed for an EF, that's where these mounts come in. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the single cam out of Jarvis, and we're going to reinstall the B-Series all-wheel drive kit on the chassis, and then we'll be able to bring it out to Drag Racing Nationals so that people get to see what it actually looks like. And we're going to go ahead and mount on my cable to hydro conversion so they can still see how the conversion will work with even an all-wheel drive transmission in an EF or a DA. The mounts are actually out for EF, G, DC, and they're currently working on the popular EK as well. So maybe by the time you see this, I actually have some development on that. I think first we're going to start off with the transmission mount. This actually came out really nice. The kit comes with its own hardware, so we'll go ahead and start there. So I've personally done dozens and dozens of engine swaps, and over the years I found out that in some cases the motor mounts go on the engine first, and in some instances we wait till after the engine's kind of dropped in the bay then to start installing. But something I do is I always leave the engine mounts a little bit loose. Okay, so those are the two all-wheel drive mounts. Those are really the only two. So if you already have a B-Series in your car using Hossport mounts and you want to swap to the all-wheel drive transmission, those are about the only parts that you need to change is the top transmission mount and then the rear T-bracket. Then you basically have an all-wheel drive transmission in your chassis. But here's something else I'm going to point out to you. Here's another billet part that Hossport makes. This right here is essentially a remake of the 9093 Integra engine mount post. This has been discontinued by Honda and sometimes is hard to find, and so they make it out of billet aluminum. This isn't necessarily a part that you need, but of course if you don't have this, then that's where you can get it from. Okay, so that's pretty much how the install goes on the engine as far as the mounts go. Now we're going to move into taking the engine out of Jarvis and then reinstalling our B-Series. All right, Jarvis is now free from its chassis. We built this back in 2012, so this chassis is actually 6 years old now, and this is the first time that it's been swapped. We're gonna go ahead and move the single cam up out of the way and get our B series in there. As I started this install, you'd think it would be pretty easy since it's just basically some tubing, right? But then as I was putting it in, I thought it would be good practice to learn how to actually install this transmission and engine combination in our chassis. So it's going to be pretty much the same as putting it into an EF. Okay, so obviously you would be working from the front of the vehicle. And in most cases, there's going to be a cylinder head and an intake manifold installed on an engine that we're putting in with the transmission. Regularly, what we would do is make sure that this motor mount is in so they can tuck underneath the bracket that's here on the side, as you can see on this chassis there. And then the rear T-bracket. The reason the rear T-bracket in is because it's nearly impossible to get on once the engine's in place, because there's an intake manifold, the cylinder head, and then you have the rear crossmember that runs right along there. You don't have much room to work with. So it's been quite some time since I put an engine in, and I think I remember what we would do is we would keep this mount off the post. That way it gets us plenty of room to work with the transmission. I made it a little bit more difficult than it really needed to be, but I really did find out that it was a really good idea to go ahead and test this. Since I don't have a chassis to put this in yet, at least this was a good practice to figure out. Because the dimensions of Jarvis is exactly like the EF body, gives me a really good idea of how the engine goes in. So I'll give you a little step-by-step right now. So yes, this is what you want to do. When you're setting this engine in, naturally this transmission want to rock backwards because it's a little bit heavier on the back side. Plus we don't have a whole lot of room to work with because of the transfer case back there. So the rear T-bracket's on and this engine mount can be on. We're gonna keep this mount off. We're gonna drop it down, tilt it back. Okay, we're gonna raise the transmission somewhere around this with the jack from underneath. We get the engine in the chassis, we're gonna add this mount, let the engine hang off of here. Then we're gonna raise the engine up with our jack, attaching this mount and then rocking the rear T-bracket into place. Now that the engine in place, I'm going to go ahead and set up my cable to hydro conversion on the chassis itself so we can actually operate this transmission. I don't think that there's a pressure plate in there, which there's not. So yeah. Alright, we got the new pedal assembly attached. What we ended up doing was we put an EF conversion on this. We did have a DA, Basically because we sell out of the EF so fast, but I ended up having to take some parts off of this, and so it was incomplete and it didn't quite work, and so I got me a brand new EF pedal assembly on here with the EF conversion. They are a little bit different from each other, so I got this assembly all powder coated. I actually did this the other day. Alright, Jarvis is all set up, the hydro conversion's on. There's no clutch in here, so we're not going to be actually able to bleed this system so that people can actually test it for themselves, but at least they get a good idea what it looks like and how it could fit on their chassis. It's 10 o'clock on Friday. The race is tomorrow, Saturday. We have a lot more to do. I still have to load the car, have to load Jarvis, have to load all kinds of stuff. So the next time you're going to see us is at the race. Hey guys, we made it out to Fontana, California. This is actually Sunday. Yesterday it was raining all day. Yesterday was a bit of a fiasco for us to get set up, which we ended up doing, but because it was raining, we just had a lot going on, so I wasn't able to film. But they did continue the day here at Drag Racing Nationals into Sunday, and it's looking like a much better day. Yesterday was actually a pretty good turnout considering the weather. We didn't get any racing in at all. We'll see what kind of racing we get into. Hopefully there's a big crowd, because right just behind me, that's Rammy built all the way out from the East Coast. We got several East Coast guys out here. We're gonna go ahead and walk through the pits to see who's out. Because there wasn't much to do, the guys ended up drinking a bunch and having a good time. Robert's actually incapacitated a little bit today, so we're gonna go sneak up on him inside the trailer. He's up! Robert's not feeling his best. He had a little bit too much fun last night, but his goal today is to be at least his best, which was a 9-1. Right now on the circuit, there's another DA that's doing 860s. That would be wonderful if we got that. We fixed some issues that he had last time, which was the coupler blowing off. He went with the new auto lock coupler. It's a pretty nice piece. This is a 3.5-inch auto lock. This is pretty sick. It really, all it does is it twists on and off to lock. This is our setup at Drag Race Nationals. It's pretty nice. We're right up front by the staging lanes. We have Jarvis out here, the all-wheel drive kit. It was pretty popular yesterday. People got to take a look at it. Supposedly we have these mounts sold already, which is great. And we have the EGs and DCs and EFs available as well.
Para el camino izquierdo, 10:31.
Nice, Rob. You did it again. Robert just did a 9-1 again. That's the first time he's done that in 2 years. I know he's gonna be really excited. So we're heading back to the pits to see how excited he actually is.
Sorry.
Where'd Robert go? Robert. Yeah. Oh, you gonna show me what happened? Oh!
Yeah, Robert. Put something on your parachute. So when I get on that thing, yeah, go. Can you put it on so I'll go pull it out?
Let me see where
The question is, did your butt pucker again?
Oh yeah, it puckered up.
Dude, we saw a smoke show. I was like, oh, but they didn't see the ambulance. They didn't say nothing. They didn't throw the red flashers on, so I figured you all good.
They stopped it because the car stopped at the very end of the track. They drug the front, the weights all down the track and stopped. So they had to pull me out and get me out the way. So.
Dang.
Then I didn't have my phone to call anybody.
Yeah, yeah, no, we saw it here, so like I was 9-1 again. Were you happy when you saw the slip at least?
I knew it was good when you're running against Daddy and you're right neck to neck with him. You know it's got to be a good fucking pass.
Boosting.
How much? 40?
What do you think you're gonna do now?
47, 46.
Like what
Turn up
where
to.
the ship points at?
You just turn it up?
Yeah, I just turned it up a lot right now.
Where's ship points at?
What was it at before?
Well, we're sitting at about 40, 45, 46.
You're putting them now there now?
We're going way up now.
We went down because
We went
wanted to
down.
make a
So like 50?
We're at 55.
Woo!
We're at 55. You can't tell them that. Yeah, you just gotta let them drive. They don't need to know.
Yeah, that's one extra thing I don't worry about.
They don't need to know how much power they're getting.
That's right.
They just need to drive.
That's right. Yeah.
When he feels it, he'll know.
Dang, dude. All right, came to save the day. Fortunately, the EF wasn't racing today, so we had a set of slicks. Dang, dude.
Are you recording?
Yeah.
You have to put a 3/8 screw into the rim.
Those are kind of brand new too. Robert blew a tire out of his wheels, but fortunately I brought a set of slicks. We were going to race the hatch, but I didn't have a whole lot of support to actually race. So my slicks are going to come in handy for Robert anyway. So he's going to go ahead and put some wheel screws into the back of the rim, just like what was on his original rims. The rims I have are beadlock, but only from the front. He spun a lot though.
Yeah, there's a lot of room to improve. That's the good thing. That's why I say you won and you got hell of to work with right there.
Tires are not as sticky though.
Boom!
Maybe we go a little bit lower on the pressure.
Yeah.
That was a good fucking pass.
You spun a lot though.
What was the mile an hour?
160.
160.
You let the shoe go? Yeah, it
If you get it ready, it's gonna get warm.
It worked.
First gear kind of spun out.
Yeah, and it kind of sounded kind of weird at first.
Did it?
And then like it grabbed second harder.
Yeah, you were scooting.
It got second good.
How did it feel?
First gear was just weird because it was like a little bit of spin, and then it fucking, when I clicked second, it just fucking went, dude.
Yeah, it spun and first. 40, 47.
It's not going over 47?
It's not going over 47. 48. I turned that bitch way up. It won't go. We have plenty of fuel. But we got more boost. We need more boost. So.
Start back up, that usually means he wins. So we get lucky. Oh, we might win. Oh man, that's what that means.
Walking 170 on the speedo.
Oh, we didn't get it. Go for it. Robert's won before just like that. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe what happens is freaks out the other driver. I don't know.
And once again, drivers do in the biz, we need all winners. All winners, please make your way to the lanes. All winners, please make your way to the lanes. All right. Here comes the team in finals here. Whiskey Crud. We got Tyrone in a left lane. And in the right lane, we got
Look, you gave him the win, Rob.
We don't know why the car bogged, but we know why really.
Because you were just excited about it.
Too fucking excited. I had a boner, I just wanted to get it off really and shit. Had that load, I wanted
Yeah, he didn't even try, man. He saw that. He's like, oh.
I know. And I was like,
I'm good.
I had
Well,
time
save the motor for the
Yeah.
next one.
I had time to restart the car and cruise next to it. Fuck.
Get him next time, bro.
It's all good.
We have fun.
I wanted that last hit is what I wanted.
It's weird.
On the camera, I was videoing it. I was like, oh, he won the last time he did that. I was like, oh, he won. He's gonna win. He's gonna win right now.
You know, we had that problem.
Because you won like 2 events with no burnout. Or at least the one in Colorado.
Man, that's weird. Why is it when it gets late, it has that problem?
Yeah.
The whole day when it's hot, it's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
And the map is the same as before.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
All right, that concludes it here in Fontana, here at Drag Race Nationals. Robert did well. He did good. He got his personal best, so that's good. So no one can take that from him, but that's it for us. We got a lot of stuff to pack up and a long drive home. Thanks for tuning in, and like always, happy tuning.